Welcome to the Teaching Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. Hi, I'm Nikki, a passionate special educator, autism advocate, resource creator with over a decade of experience, and you may know me as the face behind Teaching Autism. This podcast is your go-to place for practical tips, hands-on strategies, and inspiring and funny stories to support special educators all around the world, whether it's building independence, creating engaging lessons, or finding that elusive work-life balance. I'm here to help you thrive inside and outside of the classroom. Let's dive into today's episode and make a difference together. Hey teacher friend, welcome back to another episode of Teaching Autism and Special Education with me, your host, Nikki. Today we're tackling a phrase that I think we've probably all used at some point, and that is challenging behaviour. You know, those moments where you look around the classroom and think, oh boy, here we go again. Maybe in your classroom, it's something like a student who is shouting out in the middle of circle time. Maybe it's a student throwing their work on the floor, maybe refusing to transition, maybe it's throwing chairs across the classroom as well. It depends on everyone's individual classrooms and students' needs on how we sort of label that challenging behaviour. And without thinking, we say it. They're having some challenging behaviours today. But here's the thing, the more that I have worked with neurodivergent students, the more that phrase just doesn't sit right with me anymore, because the truth is the behaviour isn't what's challenging. It's the situation that's challenging for the student. So today I want to unpack why we need to stop labelling behaviour as challenging and what that label really communicates. And spoiler, it's not great. And what happens when we actually flip the script. Okay, so let's dive in and let's start with what that phrase really means. So when we call something a challenging behaviour, what we're actually saying is, this is difficult for me to manage. It focuses on our perspective and not the child's experience. Now, I totally get it. We are human. We're juggling 10 things. No, we're teachers. We're juggling 100 things at once. You know, we're grabbing out the laminated visuals and it's snack time and you've got a student who's wearing a sensory bin as a hat. There's so much going on. So when something throws that flow off, it's really hard. But labeling a child's communication as challenging, it frames them as the problem. And once we see them as the problem, what we start to do is we start reacting to them instead of helping them. And what we need to do is we need to look at what's really going on. So let's zoom out for a second. Behaviour, and I mean all behaviour is communication. So when a student refuses to sit down, what that could be communicating is my body needs to move, or I don't understand what you're asking, or maybe that chair is scratchy, it's uncomfortable, my legs hurt. And when the student shouts, maybe they're saying, this room is too loud. I need help, but I don't know how to ask. I'm scared I'm going to fail. None of that is naughty or defiant or challenging. It's information. And when we go from calling it challenging and instead we start to label it as, you know, they're communicating, we can then start to look for the why behind it. And this is why I think it's important to consider the impact of labels that we use. So here's where it really hits me. When we use words like challenging, difficult, defiant, I've even heard still the label naughty being used, our students also hear those labels. Even if they don't understand the exact words, they can feel it in our tone and our body language and the way that we approach them afterwards. And over time, that label becomes part of how they see themselves. So, oh, I'm the naughty one, I'm the bad one at school, I'm always in trouble, I'm the troublemaker, everyone finds me so hard. And once a child starts to believe that about themselves, it is going to be so much harder for them to build confidence and connection as well. So I think this is why it's important, where instead of saying he's having challenging behavior today, what if we said he's having a really hard time communicating today? She's really struggling to cope right now. They're trying to tell us something, but it's coming out big. So doesn't that feel completely different? Because suddenly we aren't just reacting to what's going on. We are starting to get curious and we're starting to problem solve. We can start thinking like, okay, what's the need behind this? Instead of how do I stop this right now? And then when we have that curiosity and that problem solving, especially if you can sit down with your team and kind of all put your heads together, you can probably start to try and work out the reason behind what you're seeing. And then it's the ripple effect. So when your students will start to feel like you understand them and care for them and are willing to listen and learn and help them, they are going to feel a lot safer. And when they feel safer, that is when they're actually going to do their best learning. And I've literally seen kids go from flipping tables over to asking for help with a single picture card, not because we fixed their behavior, but we listened to what the behavior was trying to say. So when we approach a behavior, I think it's important to always have empathy, and then you can give your students a sort of sense of control, because they might feel completely out of control in their environment, and also a reason to trust you and the adults around them, along with giving them some tools for some self-regulation as well. Because when they've got that power to self-regulate, we're not going to be enforcing rules as much. We're going to be creating a lot more understanding. They're going to be able to start to identify these things within themselves, and they're going to be able to problem solve themselves as well. So if you have ever felt frustrated thinking, why is my student always doing this? Try and sit down with your team and flip the question. And instead of why are they doing this, try and ask yourself, your team, family members, what are they trying to tell me? If I couldn't use my voice, how would I communicate for certain things? If I couldn't use my voice, what would make me communicate in this way? And try to think of it that way. So there is your practical takeaway for today. I want to have a little sort of mindset anchor for you to use in the classroom this week. So every time you see what looks like challenging behavior or something that you would normally label as challenging behavior, I want you to say to yourself, this isn't a challenge to me, it's a message from them. And then I want you to look for the clue. So are they escaping a task? Are they trying to get attention? Are they seeking some sensory input? Are they trying to avoid something that's overwhelming? And once you know the why, then you can meet the need. And then when the need is met, that behavior is naturally going to start to fade away. So I don't know, maybe it's time that we retire the phrase challenging behavior altogether, because the real challenge isn't the student, it's us learning how to listen differently. And you know that quote that always goes around, I see it a lot on the social media about how our students aren't giving us a hard time, they're having a hard time. And I think that's a great place for us to sort of look towards as, teachers, students, our aides, family members, everyone that's involved. All right, teacher friend, that is it for today's episode. Nice and short and sweet. If it resonated with you, please take a moment to share it with another special ed teacher who may need this reminder today as well. And as always, thank you for everything that you do. The patience, the creativity, the heart that you pour into your students every single day. Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you soon.